guys, welcome back to Parmfam Custom Woodworking. I'm Matt, and today we're going to build this simple table saw sled, something that every shop needs. So I have this piece of old plywood I have in the shop. Still flat, still pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and sand it down, clean it up some, and that'll be our base. And then I have this piece of hard maple that I had. Now I'm going to go ahead and mill this down because it doesn't quite fit in my channels right here. So I'm going to go ahead and run it through the planer, mill it down until it fits in there just snug. So I can fit it in there nice, and then I can wax the sides of it. And then I'll cut this into a couple strips that'll fit right down inside of here. And that way I can put those to the bottom side of the plywood. And that'll be the base of my crosscut sled. It's not going to be anything beautiful. It's going to be useful and purposeful. Alright, so there we go. We got that sanded up and cleaned up. We'll go ahead and get this run through the planer. Now this I'm going to run through really fine amounts because I want to get it so it fits in here just right. And right now I'm off by just a little bit. So my slot right here is 3/4 of an inch. And my board just over that. So we'll run it through a few times and see what we can get her at. Alright, so we ran her through the planer and we went ahead and got her fit down in there. Fits down in there pretty snug. Now I'm going to go ahead and rip a couple pieces off it to get one here and here, and then we'll go from there. So looking at the grooves on my table saw, they're at 3/8 of an inch deep. Alright, so we have this set up now, set up at just under 3/8 of an inch. And I have my blade up the height. So I'll just go ahead and I'll rip 2 strips off from here, one for either side of here, and that'll make them just a little bit shorter than this. That way they'll slide in there nice and easy. So we'll go ahead and rip that down. Alright, so we've got our runners are cut. Now what we gotta do is take these out of here. And I've got pennies. Just going to put the pennies down inside of the slots. That way the runners can sit on top of them and they'll sit a little proud. Actually, first I'm going to go ahead and sand down my runners. Alright, give them a little quick sand to smooth them up some. Go ahead and set them down in the slots. So I have my fence set up at 19 inches off from the center line of the blade, and that's where I want. That's going to leave me 10 inches off this side of the blade for making cuts. So that's how we're going to run it in here. Now all I got to do is get some CA glue and some accelerator, put it on there, and we should be good. So we just put the CA glue down on there, and then I marked on the back of here where that will go. So then I just go ahead and spray some of the accelerant on there. And then go ahead and lean it up against my fence. Drop her down, put a little pressure on it. Alright, so we let her sit for a few minutes. Now we're going to go ahead and pull her out of there. They seem to be on there pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and countersink these and put in some 3/4 inch wood screws just so that I make sure these won't come out of here. So we got that. Now I'll go ahead and get the drill. Alright, so those are fastened on. It's right in there nice. Slides pretty good. We'll go ahead and wax it up once we get the rest done. I'm going to cut some strips of 3/4 inch plywood, think I'm going to cut them 4 inches tall, and then I'll glue them together and put a double set on this side and double set on that side, and get my front and back rails in there. So that's what we're going to do next. Alright, so I found a piece of plywood I can use to cut down for the front and back supports on that crosscut sled. Now I only need about 30 inches. My crosscut sled, I need 29 across, 29 and a quarter, and this is 36. So I'm going to cut a piece off it just to, so I can use it maybe something else. Now I'll come back and we'll cut this down on here. Alright, so we got that set. Now I'm going to go ahead and rip this into strips. I need 4 strips, 4 inches. Alright, there's 4 strips. Now we'll go ahead and just going to do a light sanding on the faces of them. And we're going to glue them and then clamp them together, let them dry. Once they're glued up and dried, we'll go ahead and get them cut down to the shape, square them up some more. And then we'll go ahead and get them affixed to the crosscut sled. So here we got these. So now I want to get them glued up and then secured down so that they're going to be perfectly flat and glued together. So I've seen other guys do it when they glue these up, clamp it to a level so that it gives it something to be straight with. So that's what we're going to try. So let's go ahead and get these set up. So I'm going to want this side on in, this side in and in. In and in. So I'm going to glue them that way, and then we're going to see how we can get her to go. This is my patent pending glue bottle I picked up at Walmart for 97 cents or something like that. See how it works. I'm using Titebond 2. I have it marked on here, but I'm using Titebond 2 glue. It's shouldn't see any water or any type of issue like that, so I should be fine with Titebond 2. Alright, let's try ahead. Get these things glued together. So like I said, I did leave them a little long, that way I can trim up the ends and get those square. I might add another clamp here on the end. Alright, so we got some squeeze out, got our snip or clamped in there. We're going to go ahead and let that dry for a couple hours, and then we'll come back, pull them out, and we'll go ahead and get started with the rest of the process on that. Alright, so the glue's all dried up. We'll go ahead and take this out of the clamps. See if we can get started on getting this thing put together. So there are two pieces. Nice, clean, square. We'll go ahead and clean up the edges a little bit. Start getting it put together. Alright, so I'm going to rip both sides of this square and run it down through here. I have it set at 3 7/8. And then I'll run to one side, and then after that I'll go ahead and run it again at 3 3/4. Alright, now I've got the sides of them squared up the way I want, and I'm going to square up the ends on the miter saw. Alright, so there we go. We got the back fence on here. This one will be the one that's going to be furthest away from me on the table saw. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to countersink some screws on the bottom side and screw it in there, and that'll secure it. Now this one's not important specifically to be perfectly square 90 to the blade, because we're not going to hold anything against it. This one's basically just going to be a support to keep the board together and rigid. Alright, so the blade is going to be right about here. I'll make sure to put no screws in there. There's that. We'll go ahead and get our fence put up on here. Alright, so I have her all lined up where I want it, and I'll go ahead and put some screws in there. And what I'm using is a 2-inch construction screw. Alright, so there's that side put on. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put the front side on here. I'm only going to put it on with 2 screws. Alright, so I'm going to set 1 screw on this side here, and then this will be my pivot screw. I won't take this one out. This one will be my adjusted screw, so I'll take it out and I'll adjust it back and forth. So I'm not going to do anything with this one right now. I'm going to take this over and set it on the saw. I'll bring my blade up through here, put a little bit of a cut in it, and then I can take my square and I'll line it next to it, and I'll try to get this as close to square that way, and then set my screw and then make the first cuts trying to get her set up. Alright, so I've got her set up. This side is secure. I'm going to go ahead and cut right on through it, and that will give me my line in there, and I can try and line up that back fence to get her set. I'm just going to double check here just to make sure I don't have any screws in the path of that blade, because I've done that before. We can go ahead and take our square, wind up on the teeth. You can see we've got her lined up just about as good as we can on the blade, and then down here at the back it's good and tight and straight. So now we're going to try and pull this back as best we can without moving it. Get a clamp and clamp this and put a screw in there. Alright, so we'll go underneath here, get the screw put in. So yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what they call the 5-cut method. I'll just take a little square block. So you take the block and you put it in here and you make little cuts on it all the way down. So this is going to be A and B, and A is furthest away from me and B is closest to me. So we'll make a cut, a cut, a cut, and a cut. So we'll cut here first, turn it, cut there, cut there, cut there, and then we'll make another cut, and we'll cut a little bit bigger piece right here and then measure it. And that'll give us an idea of how far off we are. So now we have our cut off. I have A at the top and B close to the bottom towards me. We'll take a little caliper here and we'll get the measurements on the top of this, 0.695. We'll put that at the top, 0.695. And then at the bottom, 0.654. Alright guys, so what I found is I found this website. It's by Brian Klein, the simple 5-cut method. So what you do is you go in here and you put in your measurements. So my top measurement going away from me is 0.695, which is what I put in there. He's got very good instructions on here. He has a YouTube channel and a video that describes it. I'll go ahead and link that in the description below. The width on the bottom, which is B on mine, was 0.654, so I put that in here. Length of the overall length of this piece was 10.375 inches. The length from the pivot screw, so it's my screw on the far side of the board to this far side, was 26.0625. That's on the right hand side of me. So my correction amount would be 0.0257. So if I can get it within a 0.025, should get me where I'm looking to be. So then I have my feeler gauges right here, and this one happens to be, I don't know if you can see it, 0.025 on there. So then what I did, and you'll see this is what Brian did on his site, and I thought it made a lot of sense. But so he cut a board right to a point, and it comes right to a mark by my pivot screw. I've got a mark right here on the board that lines up with my pivot screw underneath there. So I have my 0.025 feeler gauge, fits right in there, comes right to that point, so I'll have a pretty good correction. And then what I'll do is I'll take out the screw on the bottom, push this board towards that, and once it gets there I'll make a new screw, a new hole, and put a new screw in there. So I'm going to go ahead and mark my old screw hole, because I don't want to reuse that again. We'll push this up tight to that. Then I'll push it up tight to there. I'm going to clamp it so it won't move on me when I'm trying to put the screw in it. Alright, so now we'll go ahead and try that cut again. We'll get a little bit bigger board this time. Well, wider. Alright, so we have A on top, B on the bottom. Here's our A side. Here's our B side. Caliper back out here. Zero them back out. Alright, so A is 0.693 and B 0.734. Alright, hopefully third time's a charm. Alright, I'm gonna run some numbers, I'll be right back. Alright guys, so I stopped recording on it a little bit, I think, because I went through so many different, so I used all these different boards trying to get this squared up. And then come to find out, I was using the wrong distance from my pivot point to my anchor point. I kept going to the next one, so it was throwing me off. So once I had figured that out, I went from my pivot point to the one I had where my adjustment point was, and within 2 tries I had it at 100, basically less than what the thing would measure. So now I'm good with that. We've got a perfect cut on here. We got 90 degrees. So now what I gotta do is I gotta pull this up, and I'm gonna put a few more screws in this end of it, and then we'll be set. So I think I'm gonna put some clamps on here just to keep it from getting movement. Yeah, if you can see up here how many different holes I put in there trying to get her to go right. So yeah, it was a run. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna drill this. I'm gonna put some clamps on here to keep this from moving around, and we'll go from there. Now I'll get a couple more 2-inch screws. We'll set that up. I don't know if it looked dusty on the camera or not, but I was just in here sweeping, cleaning up their side, and it is a little dusty in here. Alright, so there's that. So I'm going to go ahead and take these off here. I'm going to go ahead and trim these off. There are those. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just sand this a little bit and put some paste wax on there to make it slide a little better, and we'll be done. You know what? I forgot I need to put my safety block on the back of here to keep me from cutting my fingers off. So I need it. I'm gonna make it 5 inches wide and 3 3/4 inches tall to match the fence. Alright, so there's our block made up. Go ahead and put it on here. Alright, got the safety block on there. Keep our fingers to the edge of it. Nice, nice. Go ahead and get a little wax on here. Wax is a little hard today because it's cold out here. Alright, we'll give that a few minutes to dry up. Go ahead and give her a little buff down. Alright guys, zip right across there pretty good. We'll go ahead and give it a test run on this old piece of plywood I've got here. It's obviously out of square. So we'll see if we can square it up. If not, I'm very disappointed. Alright, ran her through. There it is. Nice and tight. pretty happy with the way it turned out for a quick kind of put together in a hurry. I need it for one of the projects I'm working on my for my outfeed table. So I'm glad how it turned out. If you guys liked it, if you learned anything from it, if you're gonna build one for your own, if you would, I'd appreciate if you leave me a like and a comment and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.